This is Prep Period, an all-sports podcast by the Ventura County Star and the people at VCS Press.
Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Prep Period. My name is Dominic Massimino, and my microphone is on this week. Let's go. Here with Joe Curley. We are sports reporters here at the Ventura County Star. Awesome week of sports. We got a stacked show ahead of us. We're talking football. We're breaking out our girls volleyball coverage. Pretty excited. But Joe, before we start, how was your long weekend?
Weekends? It's football season, dude.
There we go.
That was the very beginning. You know, we're now what? Are you in the rhythm yet? We're starting to get in that week to week rhythm. I think during football season there's weekends and then there's weekends, and that was week 1 is what that was. That's so we know how it's I don't know. I got some relaxation in on Sunday, so
Joe was
some stuff in.
Joe was holding down the fort while I went up, took my dogs. My girlfriend and I took the dogs up into the mountains. We drove up to Morro Bay. We had a very cool weekend. So thanks to Joe for making all that possible.
I snuck in a family Sunday. We were throwing each other down water slides. So had a Sunday day. Very
nice. As always, Joe, we're going to start with the kind of a little roundup of our football games from last week. Was kind of it was an interesting week. There was a lot of blowouts, a couple of really good games, but why don't we start with where you were at last week? Tell us about TO Ventura.
Yeah, I was at one of the bigger games of the non-league schedule. 2 of our big public school teams going head to head. You get 2 Division I quarterbacks in Jackson Taylor and Derek Garcia, and it was pretty much all Thousand Oaks. 14-0 TO. Taylor completed his first 9 passes for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. He looked phenomenal. The new Thousand Oaks running backs kind of were part of the story, and it was Jackson Taylor looking like a senior, and Ventura looking like a team maybe that hadn't played a game yet. That was their they didn't play in week 0, kind of starting later so that the thinking being maybe they're fresher come the playoffs, but they did not look anywhere near as put together as Thousand Oaks, which is interesting because Thousand Oaks obviously has a new coaching staff. So TO looking good, 2-0 in the first couple games under their new staff. Mike Lieben was calling offensive plays, which is a throwback to those of us that remember about 10, 15 years ago. So see him back on the sidelines was interesting. And, certain Brandon Anderson's got TO kind of in that same trajectory that they were under previous administration. So looking good.
Very cool. Yeah.
Tell me about the black and blue rivalry.
Yeah. It was cool. It was cool, man. I enjoyed kind of getting out there. It was a return to the location of my first high school football game that I covered for the Star, which I believe was Cam Simi last year. Yeah.
Yep.
So it was cool. It was like, I kind of was remembering, the jitters of showing up at my first game, pulling up into the parking lot and walking out, and didn't have to carry my cameras this time because the great Joe Lamaya was out there taking photos.
It's always nice to have support.
Very cool. And he took some awesome shots. If you haven't seen that, first plug of the show, go check out Joe Lamaya's gallery on our website. It was a game that we kind of anticipated was going to be competitive, and it was. It was, I believe the final score was 22-14, was decided late, so it was an interesting game kind of throughout. Camarillo fumbles on the very first play of the game, and, it's like, oh, crap, maybe this is going to be, a sign of things to come later on.
Rio's night.
Yeah, Rio goes, punches in a touchdown from Juan Munoz, failed 2-point conversion, so it's 6-0. And then from then on, it really was kind of the Shane Feller show, as I kind of articulated in my in my lead to that game, where I couldn't find a way not to kind of make it about him early. He rushed for 200 yards on 31 carries and 2 touchdowns in that game. Just looked like a man amongst boys. It was, practically impossible for the Rio defense, who was, again, for most of that game, missing Angel Moreno. He suited up early in the game and then left again with an injury. More on that in a little bit, but yeah, it was tough to tackle Shane Feller, who, little side note that didn't make it into the story, he was lined up at nose tackle on defense for a goal line, almost a goal line stop. 3 plays finally. Alec Fontaine, the Rio QB, punched it in for a touchdown later in the game. But he's just a big dude who can, run the ball. Fun watching him play. But yeah, competitive back and forth. And then Alec Fontaine takes a deep shot late in that game, trying to find Nate Warren-Lewis for what would have been a big touchdown pass over the top of the Cam defense. And Carson Machado pulls down the interception. And Cam's able to just kind of run out the clock with some running plays and gets the win. So exciting game, another kind of learning experience maybe for Rio. They looked a lot better than the loss to Moore Park to start the season. But yeah, starting to put some things together. But the Angel Moreno injury, that kind of nagging hamstring injury is really hurting them, it feels like.
And we'd be remiss if we don't mention that you talked all about Shane Feller, but you didn't mention he was the subject of one of the great leads in Ventura County Star sports history, which when I saw that on Saturday morning, I jumped up and celebrated. So someday we'll have a dramatic reading of your game story from the 2025 Black and Blue rival game, where that feller sure can run.
That feller sure can run. Yeah, it's always a welcome sight when I wake up on a Saturday morning getting ready to make our calls for the roundup and see some texts from Joe with a lot of exclamation marks at the end. It's either very good or very bad, but this time it was good.
That was fantastic. That was old school ink print stained media excitement right there. That was the old, Lauren would be really pleased about that. That was a Lauren style lead. It was awesome.
Wow, that means a lot. And so here we are, another week, and Westlake is making headlines. Westlake's making us talk about them. Pick up the pretty big win over Agora, and just tell me what you think. Kind of that game teaches you about both of these teams.
There's always one game or multiple games where you wish we could have been at. We can only be at one game on a Friday night, and that would have been one of those games that I would have loved to have been at. Westlake Agura, going into the week, it was really kind of a litmus test. How good is this Agura team, and how quickly has the Clausen Reclamation Project taken root at Westlake? And the fact that Westlake handles Agura pretty easily. Westlake's in our poll. They're in our rankings, top 10 rankings this week. It took, I held off after the first win. You beat Agura, Agura team that is a defending league champion, albeit 4th tier. The defending league champion team that went to the playoffs, team that we think is really good this year. And Westlake kind of handled them. And Coach Kroik from Agura was very complimentary about Westlake, was very complimentary of I'm sure he's really glad he doesn't have to face Damani Bell anymore, because Damani Bell has like 550 yards rushing and a whole bunch of TDs the last 2 games against Agura. So, all in all, it says that Westlake is a team to be followed and reckoned with. And I mean, are they now contenders in the Conejo Coast? Maybe.
Yeah. Crazy thought.
So, and then Agura, learning some lessons, and I think it's going to be a really good thing for them to have Coach Clausen kind of point out some of their issues and pick at some weaknesses, and so now they get a chance to kind of work on those weeks before they have to really worry about them in league. Also gives them a loss that probably helps them in their playoff division when they eventually get there. And I don't know, you want to read us this amazing Westlake High offense stat here?
Yeah. So, I mean, you said, Coach Kroik is probably, excited not to have to see Damani Bell again. very interesting stat. It's not our stat of the week, but it is a stat from the Deuce. Damani Bell has 406 yards rushing, and I think he has 3 TDs so far on the season. And
That's 2 games.
Yeah, through 2 games. And the rest of the Westlake team has 3 yards. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
And Ford Green has 409 yards passing.
Yes.
And the rest of the entire team has just 3 yards of total offense.
3 yards. 3 yards on episode 3.
It's either a Green pass or a Bell run so far for Westlake through 2 games.
Yeah, which is like, opposing teams scouting Westlake, you know what you're in for. It's just a question of, can you find a way to slow those two guys down? And so far, nobody's been able to. So kind of crazy. And then Bonnie improves to 2-0 on the season. 2 games, 2 wins for Troy Hill at the helm over there. And St. Bonaventure freshman Tony Dargan has 2 touchdown runs and 2 touchdown catches through his first 2 varsity games on, I believe, 4 total carries and 4 total receptions, I think is the stat. But kind of a crazy start, to his first 2 games of high school football so far.
Yeah, it was around this time a year ago where freshmen started popping. We had the Gura linebacker. George started really playing well in that Calabasas early in the season. We got to see him this year straight from the start. You've got, the next class of kids coming in. Tony Dargan has been, probably the best freshman. So off the top of my head, so far this year. And it's not like he's been a workhorse. Like, we think he's only had 8 touches and he's had 4 touchdowns. So if that's what the Bonnie stats said. So,
yep.
But certainly an explosive player. He's also starting at cornerback. So he's playing both ways, doing all this. And then the St. Bonaventure situation now, they've got wins over St. Francis and Birmingham. They play Inglewood this week. Then they've got 2 monster games to wrap up league play in Central Catholic and Oak Hills, who Bonnie fans know well. So we're going to see kind of where this team kind of sits, and they haven't been 5-0 in those games. They've played Oak Hills a bunch of times, and their goal is not to get through league 5-0. Their goal is to improve and find their level and see what they need to work with. And so we'll get a better sense of just how good Bonaventure is in the next couple of weeks as they play those opponents.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be a kind of interesting for us to get out there and see that team in person, see just what they're putting together, what Coach Hill's putting together. But yeah, it was kind of the week of the shutout outside of, these games that we've talked about. We had some competitive games that we covered, but we had 5 shutouts, including the Gonzales Road rivalry game, which was the lead of our roundup. Moore Park shuts out Centennial on the road in Bakersfield, 21-0, another big win for them, as kind of displayed in where they're kind of moving up in our weekly rankings. Sierra Canyon shuts out Oaks Christian, delivering them the worst loss in program history.
Yeah.
Dos Pueblos shuts down Royal. They still have yet to score a touchdown, score a point, I believe.
They kicked a field goal in the first game.
Yeah. Oh, he did. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. And Century shuts out Santa Clara. So, a lot of kind of lopsided victories, losses for some local teams. You want to talk any of those, Joe?
I mean, I went back and watched the Oaks game. It needs to be pointed out that Devon Benjamin's not playing. It needs to be pointed out that Joe Pecco is not playing. That's 2 of the better players around. They're also playing, a Sierra Canyon team that is, in the discussion for best defense in the country, in multiple Power 5 talents all over the place. And also they're a team that's trying to make that leap up into the modern days in the St. John Bosco. So, but, Oaks is not, the first 2 weeks have not been good results wise, but it's a young team full of sophomore quarterback, sophomores all over the offense. It did not perform well. They've had really rough starts the first 2 games. opening kickoff bounces off a face mask for a fumble this week. But we know that once they get those players back and get going, they're going to be a force to reckon with. It's just kind of a rough way to start the season for them.
Yeah, I mean, despite that, they're still our top Cal Preps ranked team. So
right, despite two really disappointing losses to start the season, they're still, out of all the teams we cover, the highest ranked team in Cal Prep. So
the algorithm has a lot of trust in the Lions.
The algorithm has spoken.
And any thoughts on just? I mean, we're going to talk Pacifica later on this game, this show, as we look forward to next week and a big game there. But just what do you make of them so far? I mean, they're number one in our rankings for a reason. 2 big wins to start the season. But like, what do you make of that Pacifica team and what they're putting together?
I mean, 2 weeks into the season, we don't know much. We're not, nothing sure. But I think it's fair to say that it's trending. And talk to me on Saturday after Friday. But it's looking like Pacifica is our best team this year. Now, can they beat Oaks? We'll find out. Can they beat Brady Smigel? Brady Smigel has not lost to very many Ventura County opponents. So he he beat Pacifica last year. So, there's still a lot of, even Mike Moon, when I talked to him on Saturday morning after the game on Friday, said, we're good. We don't know how good. So, I think that's the question, where you've got 2 games against kind of overmatched opponents. They've scored 59 and 63 points in the 2 games. So scoring has been easy and the defense has played well. And what we know about Pacifica, the certainty is that they're deep. They're going to be able to handle, all but the most key of injuries. They've got linemen, they've got playmakers, they've got weapons. The defense looks fantastic. So, we'll see in the coming weeks just how good. The issue with Pacifica is going to be, if they're able to get past Newbury this weekend. The toughest preseason game was looking like that Bishop Montgomery game. And now Bishop Montgomery has come apart at the seams. Those of you that follow Southern California football beyond Ventura County will know that there's been some controversy regarding some CIF transfers, and they, forfeited their game to Mater Dei last week. This is a team that went from playing, they were going to play Mater Dei last week, and instead they were trying to play Nordhoff. So, as I heard from Dylan Lowen, that Bishop Montgomery reached out and tried to play Nordhoff last week when they had Mater Dei scheduled. So that shows you kind of like how, Pacifica didn't even know if they're going to have a game against Bishop Montgomery. So Pacifica may be a 9-game season. They may be scrambling. They may have to play Mater Dei. So, so even though it's so funny, we had this game pop up, the Nordhoff game last week out of nowhere, right? In the middle of the season, we have these schedules. Sometimes the schedules change. So there's a lot happening there with Pacifica trying to push itself and find out how good they are when their own schedule is kind of moving from underneath it in the middle of the season. But besides,
yeah, it's looking.
We'll find out this week.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, it's time for the Deuces stat of the week, courtesy of Dara Eads, longtime famed in our hearts, famed on the pages of the Ventura County Star, preps editor at the Star. So, question for you, Joe, and question for the audience. So,
it's a fun one.
Work with us, guys. Newbury Park won the CIF Southern Section Division II championship last season, and Pacifica won Division IV. This upcoming matchup next week, Pacifica Newbury Park. Has there ever been a local matchup of 2 defending CIF champions before?
So shout out to Pacific AD Ray Camacho, who had the question for us earlier this morning. My first response to it was probably not, because structurally over the history of Southern California, in Ventura County for years and years and years until the new system, you had big schools in Division 4 or the Northern Division, and you had small schools in the Northwest Division or Division 11, depending on how the system was, for at least all the time that I've been at the Star until recently. You wouldn't have, all our teams were playing 4 CIF championships. They weren't playing, they weren't winning multiple CIF championships and then playing the next season. All that kind of changed. The instance that I was kicking myself for not thinking about immediately was one of the biggest games in county history. In 06, the Jimmy Clausen Oaks Christian team played St. Bonaventure. Those were the reigning Division IV and Division 11 championships. That was as Oaks Christian was kind of rising from a small school power to a big school power. It was really the first big litmus test of like how good is, when St. Bonaventure stepped up from Division 11 to Division 4 and went from playing, the Nordoffs, and then went to playing the Westlakes, right? That was Oaks Christian's version of that, where they went from playing Oak Park in CIF finals to playing, the Westlakes. And so what happened, those, anyone who was there at Larrabee that day, remember Oaks winning 59-13, which was a huge moment for Oaks. And they're, kind of saying that they're, a preeminent power locally. They're not just a small school power. The other instance, this is funny. The other instance was last year, which makes sense because now you've got the new system. Now this can actually happen. You don't have division teams playing for Division 4 championships or 11 championships. You have them playing for the full gauntlet of 1 through 15, 14, whatever it is.
Right.
So think to yourself real quick, which teams played each other after winning CIF last in 2024, after winning championships in 2023? It was the Division 3 champion against the Division 6 champion.
Yeah, when Joe asked me this question earlier today, I think I got one of these two teams right, but
you
I did
weren't
not get
here,
the other.
So
yeah.
You have an excuse. I have the fact that it didn't jump into my brain shows I have problems. D3 against D6 champion. It happened in Marmoni League play. St. Bonaventure, it was Simi Valley 42, St. Bonaventure 38. So it happened just last year. That's the first example of two Ventura County defending CIF champions playing each other. And there is still a little bit of history of this Newbury Pacifica game because it'll be the first non-league game between defending CIF champions in Ventura County history. So,
all right, that's all we're talking about that game because we gotta talk more about it as we look forward into the future. Need more interesting tidbits from you. But yeah, so before we move on to a segment that I'm very excited about in second period, just want to plug our wonderful newspaper again. So for all the news you need to know, from sports up to the minute breaking news, investigative stories, to the new restaurant going up around your place that you want to find out more information about, the Ventura County Star has you covered. Go to vcstar.com/subscribe and sign up for a subscription today. Pro tip, it is only $1 right now for the first month. You can get a taste of everything that Joe and I are doing on the prep side and a taste of everything else that I just mentioned just for $1 for the first month. And while you're at it, go subscribe to this podcast. We are live on YouTube right now. It's www.youtube.com/@VCSpreps and go click on that live button. And find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Type in Prep Period, and we'll be right up there at the top, VCS Preps. On Twitter and Instagram, we are at VCS Preps. Go follow.
And before we move on, let me just quickly plug, go and vote for the VCS Preps Football Athlete of Week 1. Shane Feller, Jackson Roberts, Jackson Taylor, Taylor Lee, Damani Bell, Kane Miller, Josiah Patterson, Elijah Royster, Desi Canfield, Brady Smigel, Cade Hunter, Davis Benson, Riley Williams. They all deserve your support. Go vote now, and vote often.
Always vote. We got to do little I voted with a football stickers that we can hand out to people. Cool. Nice. So moving on to second period, we're gonna flip this over. Joe, I feel like you're our football expert, and I'm gonna try and put on my best expert hat for volleyball, which we've kind of dove into to start this season.
That's right. So one of the cool things the last couple of years we've started doing is our player rankings. We did our top 70 preseason football player rankings. You spent your valuable time to put together a list of, in your opinion, the top 25 high school volleyball players in Ventura County. Why don't you give us a taste of just who the best local volleyball players are this fall?
For sure. Yeah. So before we get started, it's like you've mentioned in the past your player rankings draw the adoration and the ire of parents, of players, of coaches, all that kind of stuff. I have been
Kind of the point.
Yeah, it's the point. I've been very encouraged by the feedback that I've gotten already from parents, coaches, players. Not only encouraged because people have looked at these rankings positively, but also just the negative ones too. Just people are reading, and I really appreciate just that everybody's so psyched about volleyball in this county. It's an awesome sport, and there's a lot of talent. So. These were hard rankings to put together. A lot of talent up at the top, a lot of talent, all the way through this list. The player we landed on for number 1 was Sadie Coker, over at Oaks Christian. She's the best player on the best team, and I think that's always a good way to go with the number 1 pick. She had 270 kills last season on a team that had Manaya Ogbechi, who's now playing at Volleyball Powerhouse Nebraska. So that kind of tells you everything you need to know about her impact. She's also a cool story because you see in especially in the kind of top of the Ventura County ranks, a lot of these top players are beach players now. They're maybe not the tallest or the most explosive, but they're gritty. They play good defense. They kind of learn that in the sand with 2 players in beach volleyball. She played 1 season of beach, Coach Julie Bennett told me, and earned herself a scholarship in that first season. So she's a University of Hawaii beach volleyball commit. And yeah, she's kind of hoping to make things exciting again this year for Oaks Christian. And our number 2 ranked player is from the team that I think is going to be battling that Oaks Christian squad all year. It's Saylor Halverson. She had a monster freshman year last year, playing middle. She had 266 kills, 53 blocks in the middle. 15 of those came in the playoffs, so she was kind of a gamer late in the season for them. She's moving over from the middle to the outside this year, so that's exciting. The reason for that you will explore a little bit later on in these as we talk these rankings, but there's some personnel changes going on over at TO that are pretty exciting, I think, for that group. Number 3, we have Gigi Scaglia, who's just a huge player for Ventura. Her health is kind of going to be the key to success or failure, I think, for Ventura this year. She's been a little banged up. She had 402 kills, 270 digs, 31 blocks, and 27 aces for the Cougars last year, helping power them to a playoff run. That Channel League's pretty strong at the top, so making the playoffs out of the Channel League's a kind of a big deal. Number 4, another Oaks player, Messina Ogbechi, the younger sister, middle sister of the 3 Ogbechi sisters at Oaks Christian. An embarrassment of riches with the Ogbechi family over there. Just 3 super talented players. She plays oppo for the Lions. She's committed to play volleyball at Harvard. She's just a huge talent, really big swing on the opposite side for
a little school from Cambridge.
Yeah, just a little something. And she's one of the top non-beach commits. She's going to play indoor volleyball. She has the arm, the intelligence to do so. Where are we at? Number 6. This is a big 5. This is a big name for a lot of reasons. So Hallie Bryce, you've seen her in the pages of the Star, wearing a Camarillo uniform for her first 2 seasons. She had 500 kills last year. She set Camarillo's single game kill record with 31 in a win over Moore Park. She is going to be wearing a Thousand Oaks uniform this season. She's transferred over to TO. She's adding to what I think is one of the most impressive groups of outside hitters, assembled at any school in Southern California. I think maybe the only team you can argue with is Oaks Christian. But yeah, she's she's the biggest offseason move of the year. She's got a sit-out period, as well as Lily Morge, who's transferred over from Oak Park, also going to have a sit-out period. But yeah, so her move to Thousand Oaks has kind of precipitated a lot of positional changes for those returning players at TO. Saylor Halverson moving from the middle to the outside. You have Leah Curtin, who is our next ranked. This is perfect segue. Is our next ranked player at number 6. She was going to be, I felt like, one of the top ranked players as an outside hitter when we were starting to put these rankings together. She had 237 kills last year. She was awesome on the outside, just a big arm, like a super important part of that TO offense. And I show up at the first game to go watch them against Royal, and I see her wearing the libero jersey. I'm like, what is going on? Am I not recognizing her? So she's going to play libero this year. She's moving, I think, in part, kind of like I said, precipitated by that Hallie Bryce transfer. She had 316 digs last year. Coach James Park says, she's going to make defense her calling card. But really interesting to see kind of one of the top hitters in the county switch over to libero. So that's going to be cool. Number 7, Kira Overbeck. She had a 1,117 assists last year for Newbury Park. She's 6 foot. I mean, that kind of tells the story. She's the engine of their offense, distributing to all their hitters. So she's, I believe, our top ranked setter in the county. Right behind her is Kiyomi Kono, who's been kind of a steadying force for Agoura. They graduated, 2 Division I middles in Ava Galvin and I'm forgetting the other. But yes, 2 super talented, middles who could, touch 10-2, something like that. And Agoura is 8-0 to start the year with Kiyomi being one of the only returners from that team. So that's kind of a testament to, just what she does for them. She had 486 assists, 88 digs, 45 aces last year. Number 8, we have Jaden Alexander. She's an all CIF player, Division III last year. Helped power Royal to a deep playoff run. She had 296 kills, 45 aces, 198 digs. They reached the D3 quarterfinals with her kind of at the helm. She's the Coastal Canyon MVP last season. Pretty much a no-brainer there. And at number 10, Charlie Knupp. She's the number 1 offensive option for Newbury Park. Newbury Park's 11-1 to start this season. She was a sophomore last year, junior this year. She had 455 kills. I think it's going to be another big year for her. So that's our top 10. Go check out the website vcstar.com to see the rest of that top 25 and another watch list of 25 players past that.
So you're telling me that when Oaks Christian and Thousand Oaks play volleyball this year, I got to go watch it. That's what you're telling me.
Absolutely. I'm for sure going to be there. We'll give you the camera. You'll come take pictures.
Oh, those poor girls. No, we're not going to do that.
So yeah, I mean, that's the story of the volleyball story of the year. There's all these great teams, all these great players, but everyone who loves volleyball in Ventura County is going to be focused on either being in the gym at Oaks Christian on September 16th or following along on Max Preps, following along on someone's,
following along at VC Star.
Following along at VC Star.
At VCS Preps.
My Twitter account.
You're going to be tweeting, bro.
It's, those 2 games will be, the games of the year for volleyball in Ventura County. Both those teams are 6-0 to start the year. They split the league series 1-1 last season. So, that was kind of that was a big deal. TO taking a straight set victory over Oaks. That was a really big deal. But then they go on. Oaks makes the quarterfinals in both the Division I section and state, brackets for SoCal. So they kind of keep doing Oaks Christian things. TO ends up kind of running out of steam in the playoffs. They're up in D2 for the first time in a long time, maybe ever. They're sort of in that,
certainly in this system, in this format.
Yes, this new format, it did not do any favors to the best TO team in a long time. They play up in D2, and they're out in the second round to Orange County powerhouse Orange Lutheran. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think finish your thought, and then I do have something to catch you on. Something that's not on the rundown.
Oh yes, please do. Yeah, so it's kind of a question of, do you respect the long-time dominance that, head coach Julie Bennett and those Oaks Christian, teams of the past decade? Do you respect kind of that historical dominance of what they've done? Or do you look at this TO roster and say, wow, this is maybe the best collection of, talent in Ventura County and in recent history? Like, is this going to be the team? I opted in our team rankings to go with Oaks Christian, looking at the body of work. But it was one of those things. I'm driving home from those practices and I'm like, this is I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't, because they very well could be, you split the series again, and it'll be 5 setters both ways, and so we'll see what happens there.
And then, obviously with we're talking about the new system, and we've got the big teams that are going to be up there in the top divisions. Is there a team you think, and this is really difficult because we won't really know until we get league results, so we won't know who's down in division 3, 4, 5, 6, right? But like, is there maybe somebody that's got that maybe is a little overmatched in league, but then has something, maybe they can make a run in the playoffs? Like who could be a lower division team that could make a run? And again, this is not on the rundown. This is off the top of your head. Like, is there anybody that that pops out to you as a potential team that could really make us work come the postseason?
For sure. It's a great question. So the precedent for this is Newbury Park last year. So
right.
Newbury Park's in the Marmani League. They go up against Oaks and TO in league. They have to play those teams. And then they come back and they make it all the way to the I think it was either D4 or D5 semifinals. They had an awesome run, with a really young team. They return almost all of them. So the team I think that could happen, could be in that situation again this year, is the team that's made me look the silliest with my rankings, leaving them out of the top 10, is Agura. So Agura's they're 8-0 to start the season. You have all new players around Kiyomi Kono, and they've already picked up some wins over some local teams that we know about. They've beaten Royal, who I had ranked number 4, and they beat Moore Park, who has lost a lot of games. They're 1-4, but they're the only team to take down Newbury Park, who's our 3rd ranked team. So they're in that Marmani League where it's going to be tough for them to win some of these matches against the TOs, the Oaks, the Newbury Parks. So you could see them, getting into the playoffs as, the 4th team, 5th team out of the Marmani League, depending on how they play against Westlake. And if they drop into one of those lower divisions, it's hard to see, that team not doing really big things. So they would. So
similar to football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, we look at who's 4th and 5th, who could sneak in the lower half of the Marmani League as being a team that could be down in those lower divisions and make a run and win CIFs, similar to Pacifica in football last year.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. And then you mentioned your biggest miss in rankings.
Yeah. I should say also the there's a couple girls in the player rankings who have been, proven me wrong. A couple of St. Bonaventure girls, Soraya Forbes, Sarah Stoney, they're kind of powering that Bonnie team, has gotten off to a pretty solid start. They're going to be tough again this season. They just won the Del Sol tournament, beating out Oxnard, who's another ranked team in the championship. So yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of getting the lay of the land again, mid-season as we start getting closer to the playoffs and seeing, who are some of these players and teams who deserve to be up here on these rankings.
I mean, you did a fantastic job of parachuting in at the end of the season last year and doing all kinds of volleyball content. So, I'm really excited to see what you could put together in your first full season covering volleyball in Ventura County. And again, make sure you subscribe to the Star, just to get all of Dom's volleyball coverage. He's going to have. We will update these rankings. I don't know how often, but we will.
I'm hoping to. This is
weekly? Bi-weekly.
I'm hoping to update the team rankings on a bi-weekly basis, and I'm hoping to add to these player rankings sometime kind of mid-season for volleyball before we get into the playoffs. So keep an eye out.
And he's also a fantastic photographer who
Thanks,
takes
man.
great volleyball action shots.
We do our best.
Let's move on to the next period.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, let's look ahead. Look ahead to week 2. Yes, the week 0 thing always throws me off. It's our third week.
This is week 2.
So yeah,
our third episode.
Yes.
Week 2.
Yes, there we go. So we talked about. We've already kind of begun the preview of this game that I'm thinking is, it's definitely the game of the week. Is it the game of the month? Is it the game of the year? We'll see by Saturday morning. We'll know. But tell me about. It was a no-brainer for you to pick this game to be the one that you're covering this week. But what are some of the things you're most excited about? What are you looking forward to?
I don't know. You might be covering this game. We'll see. I think just to get more data on Pacifica, they've outscored their first two opponents 121-17. So we don't really, like Coach Moon said, we don't really know how good they are. You get, a chance to see Elijah Royster against, better competition. You get to see the further growth of Taylor Lee against one of the best defensive coordinators, maybe the best defensive coordinator in Ventura County. You get to see, just kind of another week of information on this new Newbury Park team, which has been, really interesting their first two games. Certainly they graduated most of the team. They've got a new offensive coordinator. They're literally running a new offense. And you could see for the first time, so the first time since he was a freshman, or maybe the first time, you see Brady Smigel, uncomfortable a little bit. He's thrown 6 picks in the first 2 games. That's twice as much as he threw all last season. Certainly he's playing without Shane Rosenthal for the first time. Certainly he's playing with a team that is not full, is not 100% like they're going to be in a couple weeks. But you start to see some signs. They pulled out the game last week against Arroyo Grande. And so, even though they really had some issues, they were able to kind of pull it together in the end. You see, some of the new players, really starting to come around. Matthew Curry had 17 catches last week in his Newbury Park debut. That's one of the new names to know. With Devin Almondi, the Newbury line is, Coach Schmeigel has said that it's maybe his best line there. They have been able to run the ball, although they didn't have their starting running back Tyler Stromso last week. So, in the same way that Pacifica didn't have Elijah Royster in their debut. So it's a showdown, but it's not, neither of these teams really feel like they're at full strength or we have perfect information on them yet. But it's a great opportunity for, two of the best programs that know what it's like to win in the postseason. And the other thing is you get to see Mike Moon game plan against Brady Smigel. I mean, last year, Schmeigel tore him up. He had that long touchdown run, which was like something we had never seen Smigel do. The St. Bonaventure Newbury Park had a really big day against Pacifica last year. Now this game is in Oxnard. And it's 1 versus, I came really close to putting Newbury Park 2 in the rankings this week, just so it'd be 1 versus 2. But, what it is actually the match. It's Division II, defending Division II champion against defending Division 4 champion, and it's also our preseason number 1 ranked team against our current number 1 ranked team. So that's all the really bells and whistles you need on this matchup. It's certainly one of the biggest matchups of the year. Certainly the biggest non-league matchup between Ventura County opponents. You have to applaud. When you've got two of the best teams kind of playing each other year after year, you have to applaud that. We want to see our best teams play each other.
Totally.
Pull up a chair, buy yourself a ticket, get over to Pacifica. There's going to be thousands of people, enjoying a football feast.
Well put. You got to wonder with, like you see those interception numbers from Brady, and like it's basically an all new receiving core, guys who, sure, they've been,
it is an all new.
Yeah. They've been practicing together and that kind of thing, but it's new. You takes time to build chemistry and, figure out what guys' tendencies are, I'm sure. So curious to see kind of as the season goes on and, the team tightens up in general, maybe you'll see improvement, but also just as the chemistry builds and those guys get to know each other a little better, see what what happens to those numbers and his kind of efficiency.
I mean, it's Brady Smigel's not going to do this all season. We have too much information on how good of a quarterback he is to expect, they're going to tighten this up. They are going to be so much better going forward. The question is just, are they going to be good enough, fast enough to be able to make this a competitive game?
For sure. And so exciting again, we see this is something that we were learning about a little bit all the way back at Media Day with Channel Islands and Wainimi. But, we've lost that rivalry for 3 seasons, and we're getting it back this year. And, the stakes couldn't be higher. Both teams are looking for, their first win on the season, and we think it's going to be competitive. But you've been talking to some players and stuff. Just what's kind of the vibe going into that rivalry game for the first time in a little while?
I mean, let's be honest. Rivalry is a core pillar of high school sports, high school football, college football. In the progress of the season, everyone has the build up to their rivalry game. When I played high school football, we build up to our rival. So to have 3 classes of football players in South Oxnard not be able to have that rivalry game, you feel for them. And so, the fact that this game is back is an absolutely huge deal. I talked to both athletic directors and both head coaches today. Alec Morfin, who played at Wainimi, played in this game. Jeremiah Villaraga, who played at Channel Islands, played in this game. He was recounting after I pushed him a little bit. Jeremiah doesn't like to talk about himself as a player, but I pushed him a little bit, and he talked about the diving touchdown catch he made, keeping 2 feet in that game when he was a kid, which, one of the best Channel Island teams I've ever covered was when Jeremiah was there. And, the rivalry goes back to 76. They played every year from 82 to when this game was canceled or paused in 21. So that was 39 straight years before this little blip. And the really cool thing, and the other thing is you got 2 teams that are 0-1 and 0-2. So you've got, not only are they going to win a rivalry game, somebody's going to win this football game and have a memory that's going to last a lifetime, which is why you play these games. And not just those 2 teams, but you also have 2 flag football teams that for the first time are going to play in this South Oxnard. It's going to be a doubleheader. They're playing the flag football game first, and they're going to play the varsity game. So then the really cool part is you're going to have flag football parents or fans that only watch their sport. They can stick around and watch the tackle game. And you've got all these tackle football parents and fans who are going to, and alumni who are going to show up, thinking that pregame is going to be there, and there's going to be a rivalry football game there playing out. And, the 2 of us have covered flag football in the first couple of years of its existence, and it is a lot of fun.
Electric.
It is a great watch. And so, I think you're going to have flag football fans being made, and, you're going to have football fans being made. It's going to be like a football celebration, a South Oxnard football celebration. So really excited for both those programs. Kudos to Coach Villaraga and Coach Morfin for bringing it back. And I think, as we get, remember now, Simi and Royal aren't playing this year. And we're starting to hear some rumors about some other rivalry games that may be on the fritz. And one of the lessons, I'm writing my notebook on this today, so it'll be later in this week. Make sure you go to vcstar.com to read my notebook about this. I spoke to both, like I said, all the people involved, and one of the things they said was, it was once you pause the game, it's really hard to get it going again because schedules are made years in advance. And both Morfin and Villaraga said that when they arrived as coaches, they wanted to get the game going immediately, and they couldn't match up the schedules based on the contracts. So it took them years to get the game going again. I was really hopeful that, well, we'll talk about some of that stuff later, but I just think that it's a good lesson for administrators that may not like the outcome or may be worried about their current rivalries, that, once you end a game, it's really hard to get it going again.
Yeah, a cautionary tale for sure. And okay, so it's, I remarked when we were just looking at the schedule, it's a lot of local on local football games this week, which is awesome. And another one of them is Agura's playing TO, and it's a matchup of former quarterback teammates who were, on the same team back at TO before Agura's Gavin Gray made the move over there. So what was it? It was 2023 when they were on the same team 2 seasons ago.
I remember being on the sidelines of a Moore Park TO game. I couldn't even tell you who won the game. I think not to waste time on it. Can't remember who won the game. Moore Park TO 2 years ago. I can look it up. And a sophomore by the name of Jackson Taylor started the game. Game did not start well for TO. And I remember Coach McEnroe screaming at this other sophomore to get warmed up. And that was the first time I've ever seen Gavin Gray.
Wow.
And I'm looking, look at this. So think of that quarterback room, 2 sophomores. Obviously, there's only one. You can only have one quarterback on the field at once. So Gavin Gray, Thousand Oaks kid, has he moved to Agoura because the Thousand Oaks McEnroe stuck with Taylor, and what a job he's done. Obviously, he was way high in our quarterback. Both of these kids were way high in our quarterback rankings this year. 2 of the better quarterbacks around, certainly both Division I caliber. Taylor, a commit to Boise State, and Gavin Gray, once these coaches wake up, it's going to be a Division I commit. We know that as well. But, just a chance for them that they competed in practice every day for that job. Now they get a chance to play each other. So I'm sure in the back of their minds, both are competitive quarterbacks that don't want to give an inch. And I'm sure both of them, you got an opportunity to see these 2 guys at their absolute greatest, like putting everything into a game, because I'm sure they both want to win this game. So not that there's any like personal thing, but, just 2 competitive quarterbacks that, competed for the same job once. And now, you see it in pro and college football all the time. Now they're competing for an actual game. So, that is, one of the better storylines of a non-league game this year for sure. And 2 of our, TO's been one of our best teams, and Agoura is a defending league champion, and both are very exciting offenses to watch. So, that's certainly a game that if it's not live, I'll be watching, Saturday morning.
It's so tough. It's like I feel like I'm saying this every week. We're breaking down the games of, for the next week. I'm like, dang, dude, like, where are we going to be? It's so tough to choose. One of the games that I'm most excited about. Oh yeah. We
need to clone you, bro. Can we get we'll shave the mustache off that clone. So we have a mustache Dom and a non-mustache. Anyway, sorry.
The mustache Dom would be just a terrifying sight. You've never met the mustache Dom. It's like, you'd probably think I was one of the high school players that was out there instead of one of the games I'm most excited for is Fillmore Buena. It's going to be cool. We have the Bulldogs coming off of like a serious bounce back win where they Jackson what's Jackson's last name? JXON, not SON. Jackson Roberts. There we are.
Yep.
Jackson Roberts breaks off. He had 4 or 5 touchdowns, like I think 4 rushing and
4.
1. Yeah. So he's just explosive, and he sort of fits that Flash's mold in a way that's kind of fun. He's a speedster. He's shifty. Speed over power is kind of the name of the game with him, and an explosive runner. And he's going up against a Fillmore team who Charlie Weiss has told us is like speed is the name of the game, which fits their their mascot. But it's going to be, I think, a good game, and probably the first the biggest test, rather, that is for Fillmore so far, a Fillmore team that we're all really excited about and is 2-0 and looking great. So a Fillmore team that maybe has made it into cracked into these rankings, these Joe Curley week 1 rankings.
Yeah, we'll see. Make sure to go to vcstar.com and check it out. See if Fillmore's in our rankings this week. And Buena, too, is pushing to get in these rankings, because not only do they have Jackson Roberts, who's rushed for 423 yards and 4 touchdowns, Christian Cazada has caught 4 touchdown passes. So a little bit of balance there, and they still don't have their starting quarterback. So
shout out to Ryder Busey, by the way. He had a big game last week. Again, kind of bouncing back from his he threw a couple of picks in his first week and was very efficient his second. So if he's still the starter, for the next week, I think after that performance, the Bulldogs are feeling a lot better about that.
This was the game last year where Buena got on the 126 and it was backed up, and they were actually late to the game. The game got delayed because of the traffic. And I think Buena won that game I think that was that. Well, let me check right now. Vamp for a second while I check out this one thing.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, I mean, a couple of
Nice
the,
vamping.
a couple of a couple of the story. I should just vamp by making fun of myself trying to vamp. That would be the best. A couple of the other
Nope,
storylines.
I'm wrong. Okay, I got it.
Oh,
I thought
I had
it was
a
maybe
I had a
Jackson
perfect
Roberts'
vamp I was gonna
Oh,
get
go ahead,
into
sorry.
there.
Go ahead.
Um,
Do it.
Yeah,
Sorry,
well,
let's not waste it.
so we have still near perfect. We had an argument about the meaning of near perfect last week. Near perfect. Nate Perez is he's had 2 awesome games. Super efficient, doing everything that they're asking him to do. So that'll be cool to see him another week. Not a crazy stat or idea, but just excited to see what he could keep doing this week.
So I thought it was Jackson Roberts' breakout game. It was not. Fillmore held him to 20 yards on 13 carries last year. I think it was his debut. It was also Nate Perez's starting debut, I think. He threw a touchdown
Oh, wow.
in that game. JoJo Cruz had a really nice game for Fillmore that day, but it was Blake Eberhard had 2 touchdown passes. That game was super close. It was 23-19. So, get over to Buena Stadium because that's going to be a really fun game as well.
Right around the corner from me. That's the closest football or any other game I'm ever going to cover is going to be over at Buena. So I think that's everything we got. Joe, you got stuff you want to plug? You got anything you want to say to the people?
Yeah, just check out our rankings, check out our notebook, check out all our preview materials over at vcstar.com. Make sure you follow VCS Preps on all our social medias. There is a Blue Sky. There is what's the Instagram? Threads. There's a Threads. We at some point we'll start TikToking.
We're gonna
at
put
some
Joe.
point,
We're
we'll
gonna
get
put Joe's mug
Dom
on
dancing.
TikTok. Me on TikTok?
Some
No,
of it.
dude, that's all you. We got you.
dancing. I'm sure you can. I have a face for TikTok. All right. I barely have a face for YouTube. All right. So anyway, yeah, we appreciate it. Check us out on all the platforms. Subscribe to vcstar.com and make sure you follow the live blog on the app and on vcstar.com when you're at a game on Friday night.
Awesome. Well, until next time, guys, thank you very much.
Comes down to this for Thousand Oaks in their season. It is a gift to Martin. Martin gets the first down and more. It's a nice little screen to the left-hand side. One play and see ya later. Caldera dives into the end zone. Touchdown Oxnard. What a fitting way to end that run. He's at the 40. He's at the 20. 10.